Are you preparing for Sir Jasper's ball? I hear it's going to be the largest one of the season. He lives quite extravagantly, so it's bound to be an excellent affair. Note and Notoriety is a part of the 3-scenario book, Host and Hostility, all about regency scenarios, which are one-on-one. So I've actually reviewed the other 2 scenarios, so if you're interested in getting those, that will be in the description below. And I'm going to be ranking these 3, so stick around to the end to see how Notoriety compares to the other 2 in the book. Note and Notoriety takes about 4 to 5 hours to play and is written for 1 keeper and 1 investigator, although it does have rules for including multiple investigators, and I think that the scenario can accommodate multiple. So if you do have people that want to play through it, I think there's enough going on and enough NPCs that you could have more than 1 investigator. The scenario starts out in Brighton, England in 1812 and then moves to Thornhill Manor, which is where Sir Jasper's ball is going to take place. The basic setup is that an investigator is invited to the largest ball of the season, so they must prepare. And as a bonus, their friend Harriet will be going with them, and she's met a man. Perhaps he's going to propose? From this point on, there will be spoilers. Sir Jasper's ball is not just a high society event, and in fact, he's planning to introduce a new dance. Quite scandalous for this time in the season. I mean, it's so late. Why would you introduce a new dance now? Well, I'll tell you why. Because this dance, if performed properly, will transport the participants to the court of Azathoth. Way back when Sir Jasper was a child, he had a dancing master that would teach him the appropriate dances, and this dancing master had notes on a ritual to perform this dance. Sir Jasper, being a curious child, did attempt this new dance, but didn't do it quite right, and the ritual failed. However, it left Sir Jasper really weak and unhealthy. The dancing master was blamed and fired, and as a result, the dancing master ended up taking his own life and has been haunting the maze on the grounds of Thornhill Manor. When Sir Jasper was an adult, he eventually inherited Thornhill Manor, and at this point, he found the notes from his dancing master and again attempted to play this music. When he played it on the piano, he had this really intense vision where he felt really healthy again. It brought euphoria, and he wanted to bring this to other people. He believes this dance will bring this vision and bliss to all the people at his ball, and he's not aware of the fact that it could potentially transport people into the court of Azathoth. The investigator will spend 2 days in Brighton, England before they travel to Thornhill Manor, and this time is used to get some information about Sir Jasper, perhaps prepare for the ball, and get any necessary items that they think they need before they travel. They're likely to visit the modistes or the haberdashers, and here are great places to get some gossip. You can learn that Sir Jasper is planning a massive firework display, that he's been working on some renovations to the manor, and some other key bits of gossip that might help the investigators start to put pieces together. They may go to the library. I don't think this is very likely, but just know that any of the gossip or research information in this section can be moved to other places in the scenario, so don't sweat it too much if your player doesn't end up finding all of this information or talking through and getting the gossip. However, most importantly, they will have a dance lesson before they go with their friend Harriet, and this is an opportunity to get a little bit in the role play spirit of the ball, maybe do a skill roll for dance, and most importantly here, you're going to learn that Harriet has found a man, and she believes that this person is going to propose to her. Now, this man is Lieutenant Wandsworth, and Harriet claims that Wandsworth is a close friend to Sir Jasper. However, investigators are going to learn that Wandsworth is not all he seems to be. I found Wandsworth to be a very fun part of the scenario. It doesn't directly tie in necessarily with the Court of Azathoth main storyline, but he is a vessel that the dance master will eventually take over and cause chaos during the ball. So he's a really interesting character for your investigator to get to know a little bit, and also just a fun side quest kind of thing for your investigator potentially to tell Harriet or try to convince Harriet that Wandsworth is not really a great guy. which investigators start to learn that as they travel to the manor. They're traveling with Wandsworth and Harriet. Wandsworth is the one that's driving the carriage, and he's driving it quite precariously, very recklessly, very fast, and so that's just a little hint to start to get that he might be a bit of a reckless person. This is a great place for some roles like Dex or Drive if they're trying to take over the carriage, or perhaps some social skills so they can convince Wandsworth to slow it down a little bit. Investigators may also have some conversation on the way there and try to ask questions about Sir Jasper. If they do, they learn that Wandsworth is probably not as close to him as Harriet believed. So the investigator will arrive to the manor early, and the ball will be this evening, but in the meantime, they are taken on a tour of the manor and the grounds. As they head to the drawing room, they will find Lady Dowager, and she is quite cold but polite. She warms up a bit if you have a good credit rating or reputation, but otherwise she's probably a bit cold. The Dowager is a great place to move any information that the investigators didn't get from the initial Brighton section. So she is a great NPC that's pretty flexible for giving information, and this is a great time to also give some more hints about the renovations that are happening. And even if you've gotten this, having that happen again is helpful, just because the ceiling is a key clue that's a way to stop this ritual, which is a bit hard for the investigators to piece together. So being able to have this hint multiple times could lead them on the path to discovering this option as an ending. Which leads us to the ballroom, which is where the starry ceiling is being painted. And this ceiling is something that if destroyed, it will make the ritual stop. So that is an option that wasn't totally clear for my investigator. They weren't able to put the pieces together. So just keep that in mind, that you might have to hint it multiple times. This is also where they can eavesdrop on the quartet who's playing at the ball, who seems there's some frustration because they're trying to learn this new piece and it doesn't seem quite right. Of course, this is the new music for the Azathoth dance. The investigators are given a bedroom to prepare for the ball, and this used to be Sir Jasper's childhood bedroom, and it's unoccupied right now. There is a specific clue, which is a diary from when Sir Jasper was a child, that's under the mattress, which I just felt like was kind of a little too convenient or odd that this diary would be there still, and that servants haven't found it since that time. So you can either leave it there or move it to a drawer or a closet that might be a little bit more realistic of where it could have been moved to in all of those years. If they do find the handout, it is pretty informative, giving some information about the dancing masters, some specific dances that Sir Jasper was trying to learn when he was younger, and hints at the things that could be happening in the hedge maze. Sir Jasper's study is also pointed out. They don't go into it during the tour, but the investigators have the opportunity to investigate it later. And my big tip here is don't lock this room, because there's a ton of really great information that I don't think needs to be hidden behind a lock. So make sure that that is free to come and go, and the investigators can search around the room. Basically, the big thing that you can get here is the Dance of Restitution, which is a dance that if you do that at the same time as the other more ominous dance, you can counter the effects. So that is another way that you could potentially stop this ritual. Of course, the investigator will be given a tour of the grounds as well, and the peak of this is the hedge maze, which I loved this scene. It was super cool and fun to play. So I do recommend kind of railroading your players here just to make sure that they actually get to experience this scene. And to do that, you basically take them on a tour of the hedge maze. Harriet and Wandsworth quickly get separated, and so it's just the investigator by themselves. And the wind starts to pick up. It's very chilling and cold and buffets them around the hedge maze, and they're not really sure where they're going, and they are thrust into the middle. Then once they reach the middle of this hedge maze, they are greeted with the ghost of the dance master. The ghosts were off of their hand for a dance, And it's likely that the investigators are feeling a pull to take this dancing master's hand, and they either succeed or fail in their dance role. If they succeed, it's a euphoric vision. However, if they fail, it's very dark and gloomy and scary. So either way, it's a really cool scene, and I thought this was one of the highlights of the scenario. The investigator will have a little bit of time before the ball starts, so this is when they can go snooping around the house a little bit, but also it's a time to interact with some of the NPCs and with Harriet. Don't forget about the Wandsworth kind of side plot. This might be a good opportunity to roleplay that a bit more as well. And then the ball begins. It's 7 p.m. and all of the attendees have arrived. Everyone is dressed very elegantly, and there's extravagance everywhere as Sir Jasper has spared no expense for the largest ball of the year. After a little bit, the investigator realizes that Harriet and Wandsworth are missing. Now, Harriet believed that Wandsworth was going to propose to her, and they went into the hedge maze by themselves. Gasp, they should have had a chaperone. However, they were going by themselves, and the investigator will eventually find where they are in that hedge maze. By this point, Wandsworth has been possessed by the dancing master's spirit, and he is not proposing to Harriet and is instead perhaps taking advantage of her. The investigator is thrust upon this scene. The investigator is likely to chase off Wandsworth, in which he goes running back to the manor. There's some opportunity for roleplay, for some reconciliation, and trying to figure out how to comfort Harriet. Eventually, Harriet will ask to go to her aunt, which is the Lady Dowager. So when investigators go back to the manor, they find that this Lady Dowager has been murdered by the possessed Wandsworth. So the dancing master is causing this chaos, and at the same time, we are leading towards the climax, which is the final dance. So the beginning of this dance is just a wonderful time to really lean into description and set up the atmosphere of the excitement and a little bit of confusion with this new dance, but people are handed different sheets to learn the dance, and then they begin. Sir Jasper seems to have a lot of energy and looks really healthy when he starts to dance this dance. Very soon, the music becomes quite unearthly and chaotic and forces even reluctant people to start dancing in. So there are a few ways that investigators could stop the ritual. One is by destroying the ceiling. One is by destroying the music or stopping the music. One is perhaps sabotaging the music beforehand. And then if they were lucky enough to find the Dance of Restitution, they could also try and maneuver and complete that spell. Now, one change I made to the Dance of Restitution, because my investigator did try to go that route, was that there's a ton of roles that they actually have to do. They have to complete the dance around each couple that is dancing. And so that is a lot of different roles. There's 20 different couples. So instead, I recommend just grouping those and making the amount of rolls that your investigator does less, so that you're not just sitting there rolling for a really long time. That being said, my investigator was unsuccessful in completing the Dance of Restitution, and so everyone was transported to the court of Azathoth. Overall, I thought the scenario did a really great job of mixing the regency and social intrigue with cosmic horror. These two blended really nicely together in this scenario. I enjoyed the story, and there was a lot to work with the different NPCs that were fun to play, but also the side stuff with Wandsworth. The setting was great. I thought there was a lot of different levers that the keeper could pull to figure out what's the most fun and how to adjust the scenario if your investigator goes a different way. I loved the music and dance theme and having that integrated throughout the scenario with the dancing master, but also even the dance lessons in the very beginning. I thought that was very helpful for the era and feeling Regency, but also just integrating that as the core of the scenario felt really nice and fun to play through. I think that Notoriety is a super solid scenario, and I really enjoyed playing it. I think that it is the strongest of the 3 scenarios in the Host and Hostility book, and if you'd like to check it out, it'll be linked in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.